It was October 23rd, 2132. I was sent to the moon base to participate in science research as well as being a security officer, which is kind of weird, but I guess they need the staff. Needless to say, my friends and family threw me a birthday a couple of days ago before I had to depart. It was a bittersweet moment, but I'm kind of excited to go to the moon. Anyway, I'm looking at this brochure that they gave me before I got on the shuttle, and it says the moon base is pretty huge. It's about the size of a college campus, including the football field. So that's a lot of space to work in. I'm really wondering what that means, though, as far as the research goes and what they're actually trying to research on the moon. Anyway, I'll find out when I get there. Until then, I just need to enjoy this shuttle ride. I mean, the Earth does look beautiful, like a blue pearl. It's amazing that we, billions and billions of people as a whole, don't even get to see this. Only a small few, less than 1%, get to actually see this. Oh well. Enjoy while I got it then. I arrived at the moon base looking outside of the shuttle's window, and I only saw gravel and dirt and craters. So that meant the majority of the base was underground. Anyway, as we docked, I exited the shuttle and I was greeted by someone named Dr. Lucille. She was pretty nice, but I was ready to just get work started and get things over with. As I listened to her, she pretty much described everything that was already in the brochure. So, as you know, this facility is about the size of a college campus. And the major parts of the facility, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. The major parts of the facility are for science research, and of course, you have your living quarters, and also we have a recreational center, so don't think there's nothing to do out here. As she spoke, I just looked and listened. Listening to the fact that we actually have a rec center did kind of give me a little bit of hope. So I won't be too bored. And seeing that she has a spirited personality, I'm pretty sure everyone else around here is too. But needless to say, let's see what else is going on here. We walked through about 5 corridors, and we got to the end of one, and these 2 sliding doors that said Lab C. She pressed on the intercom and spoke. This is Dr. Lucille. I'm with Ensign Nazaki. I looked with a little surprise, as if they had already knew me as... Anyway, I listened and waited for someone to respond. A grungy voiced old man responded on the other end.
Is that so? Good. Please come in. I'll open the door for you both.
As we waited, the doors opened with a loud, steamy sound. Lucille walked in first, and I followed after. The room was bright, lit with white lights, with black indentions in the lines and the floors and walls. It was like a sci-fi movie that was from the 21st century. But anyway, the doc was over at his computer typing on something. Behind him on the table was a cyborg of some sorts, I guess, or an android. I couldn't tell. Like I said, I'm more or less a security officer, so I'm not too tech savvy. Welcome, Ensign Nizaki. I'm glad you could join us. Currently, right now, I'm working on a project that will help enhance the human body. It requires a little bit of cybernetics, if you will, but for the majority, the human body is still 98% organic.
Oh, that's amazing, Doctor. So, have you figured out everything that pretty much goes with this project?
The doctor glanced and smiled at Lucille. His pearly white teeth shined through. I even giggled myself because this is quite funny. For scientists to be so cheery, it was unusual. But anyway, I was enjoying the moment. The doctor then walked over to the table, put on his glasses, and glanced down at his project. As you can see, I have been able to reverse engineer androids and somewhat make them cybernetically, or should I say bio-cyber. We both looked and just continued to listen. Now, how this works is that maybe a person may have lost a limb. Yes, we have perfected regeneration, but it's, let's say, in my eyes, I still think it's flawed. We could still use cybernetics to our fullest potential. How long have we waited for our brains to advance and evolve? Needless to say, this project that I'm working on will prove that humans can survive both with cybernetic integrations, but still be whole human. I started to question the doctor, but something just made me hesitate. I listened intently and tried to understand his logic. You see, though we have extended human life, it is still a far cry from what it could actually be. Imagine the bounds that we could take in space travel if we were able to enhance our bodies to withstand the pressures of space. Yes, we have space stations and colonies, but they're still too underdeveloped in my eyes, if you understand, my children. I understood what the doctor was saying, but it was still chilling. Someone my age, only 30, could only comprehend what this man was really thinking in his mind. A long time ago, a friend of mine once told me, though you can be friends with people, you never know what someone is truly thinking.
Well, don't you think that's a little dangerous, Doctor? I mean, yes, we could cybernetically enhance humans, but wouldn't that affect the biology?
And that is where I have figured out the formula, my child. Because we have both figured out cybernetic enhancements and biological regeneration for humans, there's a way to use both to keep the human body alive while also manipulating the cybernetics at the same time. Watch, I will explain with this one example with my project.
The doctor then stepped over to the machine, or should I say robot, and he pressed something on the side of its neck. For a second, it laid still, but then It rose up and looked. "Hello, Father. How are you?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm naked. I'm a little indecent.
No, it's okay, my lad. I wanted you to meet Dr. Lucille and Ensign Uzaki. You're the first two people who's ever met him outside of myself. Besides, I am his father and creator."
Nice to meet you both. Father, may I ask, what is it that we're going to do today?
Well, my child, I wanted you to take a minute to walk around the station and get acquainted with everyone. But just keep in mind that you are still in the works, if you understand what I mean.
Oh, most certainly, Father, I do. Do not worry, I will not venture far.
The cyborg then hopped off the table. It stood about 6 foot and was kind of small for a robot, but a cyborg, whatever, I don't know. But the guy was pretty charming. He then walked over to a locker, opened it, and grabbed a robe. He then put the robe on and tied it, grabbed the card from the locker, and exited the lab.
And as you can see, this lad here is not only cybernetic, but he also is of human components. And allow me to explain why.
Human components? I was in shock, but I couldn't help but continue to listen. Lucille also looked a little disturbed, but she continued to listen as well.
I saved this young man from a very terrible accident. Unfortunately, his body could not be completely saved, so there was only his organs, his intestinal tract, nervous system, brain, and what was left of his corneal matter.
Lucille gasped. I swallowed deep to keep from vomiting, but I also stood still with a stoic expression and kept my composure because I now needed to know what exactly it was that I was sent here for and what it was that I'm getting myself into.
Now, believe me that I did decline the offer from this young man when he asked me to do this, but he had such things to say. He wanted to see more. The things that this young man said to me were beyond anything that I've ever known or even believed to be possible. Needless to say, his words convinced me to help him live on to see his dream come true.
I again started to raise my hand to ask a question, but I decided to keep my hands in my pockets. Something just told me to be quiet.
So now, what is salvaged of his body is now within the cybernetic parts. He can still eat, still taste, still feel things, but in other times he is what you would call a meta-human or a meta-cyborg. More metal than human, but he's still human nonetheless in my eyes.
Doctor, do you think everyone on the station will...
No worries, my child. I have already considered this, and I have talked to the board and directors back on Earth, and they have approved.
I then relaxed my arm. If the head office approved, and I've
gone through some things in my career with this agency, the United Solar Economy League, or USEL. I've gone through a lot with these guys through my career, but I can tell you, the higher-ups are a bunch of assholes, but I've caught on to their game, and even with the things they try to keep secret, they don't exactly lie. They just don't tell the whole truth. Now, if you will observe the camera, you can see that the young lad is greeting everyone. Everyone is a little shocked, but you can see that he is quite the interesting fellow.
Hello there, miss. I am from Lab C. My name is Oliver. It's nice to meet you. What is your name? From the camera, we could see the woman backed against the wall with her clipboard. I just kept my thoughts to myself and continued to watch. The woman stuck her hand out and shook Oliver's hand. Nice to meet you, we could hear her say in a trembled voice on the comm through the TV. And yeah, I still use TV. I'm raised from a long traditional generation of people who love nostalgia. But anyway, the little guy, or should I say, big guy, continued his journey through the corridors and greeted everyone he saw. For the most part, everyone accepted him, with an exception of the rest of the security team. I could listen and hear the disgust in their voice. And watching them on the TV, their expressions showed it. Dude, what the fuck are you? I'm Oliver. What's your name? Oliver? Like the cat from that Disney movie from the 21st century? I could hear all of them laugh as the head guy was speaking pretty nasty to Oliver. But Oliver still kept his composure and just as politely responded. It was strange. Interesting. You find my greeting quite amusing. Could you please tell me why? I am very curious. Look, dude, I don't know where you came from, but you're freaking us out. So can you just get lost? Fucking weirdo. Oliver just slightly tilted his head and took 2 steps back. Well, I do apologize for disturbing you, gentlemen and women. I will excuse myself now. Oliver then took a full sprint. It was like lightning. As heavy as he was lightly touching the ground, running through the halls, passing by everyone. He even made someone drop their clipboards and papers and pens. I was so shocked watching this on the screen. But the doctor, he just smiled with amusement, as if it was just normal. Lucille also looked, and she was just in shock. She said nothing. Her hands gripped together, pressed against her chest. I understood the notion as well. My hands were pretty tightly gripped in my pockets too. Suddenly, we heard Oliver at the door. Father, I'm back. Could you please open the door?
The doctor then opened the door, and Oliver politely stepped in. He cracked his neck and stretched as if his mechanical parts were actually tired. I mean, it was kind of funny, but it still creeped me out. I glanced over at Lucy. Yeah, I'll call her Lucy for short. But she seemed so uncomfortable. But she still stood there and cracked a smile. And she spoke.
So how was your run?
Still keeping the same tone and energy I saw. She had a really good poker face.
It was quite lovely. Despite the few gentlemen and women that I ran into that were quite, I would say, unpleasant to me.
That made my heart sink. In sadness, but also in deep fear, because I know that he's part organic, but the fact that a robot can feel anything is... Welcome to the future, Nozaki. Don't worry, lad. They're just not used to technology on our scale. They're still intelligent, but not open to everything, if you will. That is why people like that can either grow or pass with the times, if you understand what I mean.
Yes, Father, I do understand. Some people cannot be taught. Some people cannot be loved. And some people cannot love.
Indeed, my boy. But do know that I do love you. Now, come take a seat. I do need to do one more thing to add to your enhancements, if you do not mind.
Oh, indeed, Father. I'm excited. Please tell me, what exactly is it that you are going to add to me today?
I was wondering if you would mind a artificial face until we can get you some skin.
Oh, certainly. I have been practicing my facial expressions in the mirror lately. I would love to see exactly what I would look like, at least in the prototype form, until I can acquire skin.
This chilled me to the bones to listen to him say this, but I still continued my smile. Lucy, on the other hand, took to a more stoic expression. Yeah, I could tell she had about enough, and she was ready to go back to her room and just not be here. Okay, my boy, come to the table. First, I need to add something to... Oh, let me see. You ran. One of your wires are slightly loose.
Oh dear. Do you mind replacing that wire, sir? I mean, Father. And, sir? Sir?
Suddenly, Oliver started glitching, like his vocal patterns weren't adding up. We understood exactly what he was trying to say, but the words didn't come out quite right. So he walked over to the table, still face twitching, which kind of creeped us out even more. And he sat down, words still glitching out of his mouth. Every now and then, a few sentences were audible, but the rest were just jumbled mess. The doctor then took something that was like a soldering iron and drill, and he placed it on Oliver's neck. All right, my boy, please hold still. This will hurt a little bit.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir. Okay.
The doctor then squeezed on the trigger lightly, and a spark lit
Ow, fa, hurt, ow, stop, stop, please, father, I, father.
I felt really bad for the guy because the doctor didn't let up. Suddenly he pulled back, but at this point, Oliver seemed kind of tired. The respirator in his chest was moving pretty intensely. His lungs inside were inhaling and exhaling fast, rapidly. The monitor on his chest was showing that his heart rate was about 113. Yeah, he put that guy through a lot of pain, and which was really creepy. But anyway, suddenly Oliver lifted his head.
Father, am I better? I feel pain, but I do know I feel, everything does feel quite, yes.
At this point, Oliver just glanced around the room at everyone.
Excuse me, everyone. Would you mind if I could get some rest? I will see you all in a few hours. Thank you.
Oliver then got on the table and lay down and went to sleep. He actually shut himself down. This was creepy, but nonetheless, we just wanted to respect his wishes, so me and Lucy left. The doctor apologized and then continued to work. We both looked at each other as we exited, and the doors closed with the steam behind us.
So Ensign Nazaki, I'm gonna go to my room and I'm gonna get some sleep, okay? And you enjoy your yeah, I'm going.
I looked at her as she walked away, and I said nothing because I completely understood. I went to the cafe and got me a sandwich and some drinks and went back to my room and began putting everything up in my dorm. Suddenly there was a knock on my door. My door opened, and there stood that asshole that was so rude to Oliver. Yo, you must be the new guy. Yeah, that's me. Ensign Nazaki. Oh, so that means you're a pilot too. Okay. Well, welcome to the security force. Yeah, thanks. If you need anything, let us know. Nah, I'm good. I understand that you guys are pretty well, let's say, kept, if you know what I mean. The guy kind of glanced at me and twitched his face, and then he smiled. But that smile was pretty crooked. I could see the intent in his face that he didn't like me very much, though he came in with a facade of friendliness. Well, you just let me know if you need anything, pal. My name's Jake. By the way, nice guns. He then left and my room door closed. I balled my fist up in anger for a second, and then I glanced over at my guns, my rack. Once again, like I said earlier, I love traditional things, so I still have a classic MP5 with a suppressor and an ACOG. I also got a spy shotgun with a hell of a lot of shells. Not only that, I have a Glock 18 with an extended magazine and a couple of more magazines just to be safe. You never know what you'll need up here. And also, I got a machete with reinforced titanium. But anyway, I took my boots off, I closed everything, and sat back on my bed and laid there and just stared at the ceiling. I listened to the air-conditioned whistle. It was soothing as the cold air brushed against my skin. I quietly sat there as my eyes just closed. Suddenly I awoke. The alarms were going off, and on the intercoms, the speakers was an alert. Project C has escaped from the lab. That meant that Oliver had broken out? I sat and thought about it for a second. Then I looked at everything in my containers and my gearboxes, and I hesitated no more. I suited up, grabbed my boots. I put on my bulletproof vest and combat gear. I don't know if that's actually going to help in this situation, but hey, what the hell? I'm a soldier nonetheless. I grabbed my Glock, put it in its holster, strapped my shotgun across my holster and back, put as many shells in my back case as possible, grabbed my MP5 and loaded up on magazines. And then I stormed out of my room and locked the door with its auto command.
Warning. Warning. Project C has escaped.
Suddenly, all of the lights turned red. That meant the emergency lights turned on. Oh no. On my first day. It's just like one of those cliche horror movies or whatever. But anyway, I flipped on my light and continued to walk down the corridor. I could see people running past me in lab coats. Someone stopped me.
Hey, aren't you the new security guy? Ed, I warned you not to go back that way, man. It's fucking FUBAR, man. I used to be in the military, dude. I'm telling you, even for anyone that just don't do it. Don't.
The guy then let go of me and sprinted off.
I then locked and loaded my gun. There was no turning back. I then quietly walked down the hall for a second and glanced around the corridor. I didn't see anything at first, except for flashing lights. Then I saw someone running, and a couple of more people running. About 3 people ran past, so I ran down that corridor with my gun raised. My light trained down the corridor, but the trigger, my finger was lightly on it, but I didn't want to hit anybody, so something just told me to put my trigger finger at rest. But boy, was that a mistake when I got to the end of that corridor. I looked around the corridor and I saw about 4 bodies strewn across, blood all over the wall. Someone's skull was punctured from the face. The face was missing. It's just. Anyway, I continued down the corridor, and I kept my weapon trained. I saw someone with some bloody clothes run up to me, and they asked for help. They said that the robot was going homicidal. My heart sunk again. Something told me that I needed to get to the security room fast. So I did the only thing that I could do and go. People were running past me screaming still. But as I got deeper into the hall, the lights were flickering and they were less lit. It was dim and dark, red and gloomy. At the end of the corridor, the green lit security office was there. There was still blood all over the place. Legs with no bodies. Someone's eyes were missing from their socket. I continued down the corridor anyway, and I finally got up to the security room. I took a second and looked down the opposite end, looked back to the end that I came, and then I took my key card and I quietly slid it into the door. The door opened with a loud shh. I then quietly entered, tactically clearing the whole room. The lights inside were flickering. The front part of the office was clear, papers all over the place. There were bloody handprints on the desk. One of the security officers was laying on the desk with their spine ripped out of their back. This is just too much. Even for a soldier. Anyway, I continued to go. And I could hear a woman screaming and gunfire deep into the latter half of the security room. Suddenly there was a loud snap and gorish crackle sound and a thud. Suddenly I heard two sets of footsteps running towards me, and it was Jake and one big guy. The big guy was holding a shotgun and also had a freaking grenade launcher on his back. What the fuck do you need a grenade launcher for in space? Anyway, Jake looked at me and screamed, "Yo, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Come on. The fuck, come on, let's go." I didn't hesitate and I also ran. We all ran in a group. Suddenly, I heard in a chilling voice behind us,
Oh, hello there, Ensign Azaki. Did you want to play hide and seek as well? Nice of you to join, everyone. Would you also like to become a part of the collection?
I almost looked back, but something told me not to, and I continued to sprint forward and speed up. Everyone followed suit. The fuck is a collection, I thought to myself. We then turned a corridor, turning right, running past more bodies on the ground, scientists, missing faces. At this point, I was sure of it. This son of a bitch was taking body parts to try and replace what he had lost. The doctor knew something, but he didn't know enough about what he was doing.
Are you all afraid?
We heard in the distance, along with the clink, 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 clink of Oliver's sprinting behind us.
Suddenly, we saw him skid past one of the corridors, and then he came back into the same and tried to sprint after us. We continued to run as fast as we could, and all of a sudden, we ran into the cafe. There we saw about 15 other people with guns. Some scientists, some just regular staff workers and maintenance. They were scared shitless. They hurriedly closed the doors behind us and pushed up anything they could to barricade the door. Suddenly, we all got quiet. Some people backed behind the cafe. Some people backed behind, flipped over tables, and other people behind the grill stood with their guns aimed at the door. Then we heard,
Hello, everyone. I'm glad that you could all join me.
Then all of a sudden, Oliver pounded on the doors and scraped and scratched with a loud screeching that hurt our ears. Then something we couldn't imagine happened. We heard the sound of a saw. The doors started to split with sparks. Some people started crying and whimpering. Others tried to go through the other doors and exit. Those who ran dropped their guns. So me and the rest of the security team grabbed what we could and barricaded ourselves behind the grill with the rest of the few people that were left. Those who were behind the tables stood their ground. Suddenly, Oliver stopped sawing through the door, but we could still hear the motor. He then crushed his hands through the door and pushed with all his might. The doors still forced back because they were still automatically closed, but suddenly he got them open enough for where he could walk through and hold one door open while dragging a fucking chainsaw. At this point, we knew we were fucked. I kinda wish I ran with the rest of those people that dropped their guns, but I guess eventually Oliver was gonna catch them too if we didn't do something. We all loaded our guns and opened fire. Oliver ran up to one person that was near the door and jammed him through the chest with his chainsaw, tossed him to the side at another, and the person fell down with the weight of the dead body. He screamed in terror as Oliver walked, and a volley of bullets hit Oliver. Though it hurt him, it didn't do too much.
I like this game. Please try. Please do try.
Oliver then revved up the chainsaw again and walked over to the man and sawed in half through both bodies. The man screamed and then went silent. Oliver then turned to the two people behind the tables with the shotguns. He then blocked the shots with his plasma saw. This fucking terrified us because we knew we were outmatched. He then laughed.
Oh, what joy. What fun. What fun indeed. I do like your efforts, but you will die, just as my father has.
Oliver then approached and stabbed through the table, taking shots in the chest at point-blank range. He then grabbed one of the shotguns with the saw still running as it went through one person. He sawed up and split the person vertically. They fell in two and twitched for a moment. The other person screamed and Oliver snapped their arm. He then jabbed the chainsaw through their face and then dropped the chainsaw and picked up the shotguns. He then cribbed some shells as we began to open fire on him as well. Oliver looked at me and then he said,
Oh, Ensign Nazaki. I was hoping you were going to wait till the end. Well, this should be fun too.
Oliver then sprinted toward us. He sprayed 3 shots. He missed me, but he hit Jake, the big guy. And the spray of bullets and everything, it was so fast. He killed everyone with 3 shots behind me. He then dropped the shotgun and picked up the chainsaw and revved it up again.
What's wrong, Ensign Nazaki? Are we no longer having fun? Don't you want to join me in my collection?
I then looked at Oliver and I laughed. Oliver, I see now. You're the future, and I'm nothing but a relic.
Don't be ashamed. I do enjoy your company. That's exactly why I would like to add you to my collection, my friend. Now, please hold still.
Oliver revved up his chainsaw and slowly approached me. I stood there, raised my rifle, and fired at him, hoping something would stop, hoping that someone would be an ex machina. But I ran out of bullets, and, well, Oliver cut off my legs. I crawled away, and then he lightly stepped on my head.
Okay now, Ensign Nazaki. Do you want to be a part of my collection? Or should the game end here? Please make a decision, my friend.
Fuck you. My head splattered across the pavement as he crushed down slowly, and I screamed in agony. All I could see was the floor, and then my face, and black, and a crunch.
A shame. I was hoping to keep his face.